A few years ago, I made a golf instructional program called Lessons of a Lifetime, which dealt with all the basic fundamentals I felt necessary for the widest cross-section of players. I feel it's time to provide further instruction in areas not just about hitting the shots, but also about the mental approach of playing the game. One of the many great things about golf is that it can never be mastered. Sure, you can have a good run of play, but sooner or later, the wheels will come off. I've been experiencing the game for half a century, and I can promise you, I'm still learning. The additional content in this program should be considered only after players learn and can apply the basic fundamentals as described in Lessons of a Lifetime. In some ways, we can look upon this as an advanced course of golf instruction. So let's get started. This lesson is going to introduce another secret. Remember my original Lessons of a Lifetime, I talked about how important it was, and the first secret was to keep your shoulder plane on the same plane as you make the golf swing. Well, part and parcel to that is, what is your lower body doing during this secret? You must start with the proper address or posture. Let's briefly go over the posture. You start straight, you bend your knees, you stick your rear end out, and then you'll let your arms hang. That's where you grip onto the golf club, where your arms come together like this. Now, part and parcel to keeping the shoulders going around on the same plane like this are your hips. Your hips, when you have the proper posture here, you see there's a crease right here. There's a crease here and a crease right here. On the backswing, you keep that crease relationship with your upper body and your leg right here on the backswing. On the downswing and into the ball, the key here, you don't want to lose that crease. You want to keep that crease right there into impact. And look what it does to the right knee, the left hip. The right knee starts to kick forward like this. The left hip is slightly out of the way. The crease is right here, and on the follow through, you straighten up like this and you're on your left foot. This goes back to a consistent bottom of the arc. When you get here like this and you finish here with the right knee close to the left, you'll have a consistent bottom of the arc for all your iron shots. So I repeat, keep the crease of your hips consistent on the backswing and into the impact area like this. And then you can straighten it up like this. If you lose that crease either on the backswing or on the follow through like this, you're going to be out of balance. You're going to hit a lot of bad shots. So consistency comes from keeping the crease there, and finishing like this. The pre-shot routine is almost as important as the real shot itself. And the reason it's almost as important is that under pressure, you want to have a consistent pre-shot routine. There have actually been measurements of the actual timing of a player's pre-shot routine, and it varies less than a second, less than a half a second actually, from the time that they start into the process to the time they hit the golf ball. Under pressure, you want something that you can instinctively go to and not think about, which will create a comfort level under stress that you can depend upon. And that's what we're always looking for. When the wheels are falling off, or when you're really, you're really uptight, you want something that you can just basically go back to and just say, okay, I know I can do this. This is what Jack does. He gets behind the ball like this. He looks at his target, but then he looks at a point over which he wants that ball to go. That tee right there represents the point over which he wants the ball to go. He looks at that point like this, and he walks into the shot keeping his eyes on that point so that he can aim his club face at that spot right there. He aims the club face at it, he takes his stance, looks at it again, makes sure that his club face is aligned to it, then looks up at the target. And as Jack would say it, 95% of the time he's aligned properly. He doesn't have to start over again. Another part of the routine is waggles. Do you have one waggle, no waggles, a couple of waggles? Normally, you always have the same number of waggles, or you have the same number of looks at the target before you swing the golf club. That's part of your pre-shot routine. It extends all the way down into your putting. Have the same routine and you'll be more consistent under pressure. This is how I do it. Take the club out of the bag. I'm over here, I determine the wind, and then I get behind the ball. I see the line in which I want to take, and I see that that tee right there represents the spot over which I want to start this. I look at the spot once, twice, then look up, and then swing. And that's how you do it. The most important thing in the golf swing is the bottom of the arc and where it hits the ground. That place where it hits the ground must be consistent in the golf swing. One of the lessons that I teach people to create a consistent bottom of the arc ahead of the golf ball is on the finish. If you can make this right knee touch the left thigh at the finish, like this, you'll make sure that the person gets to the left side during the golf swing. If this right knee does not touch, many times we hang back and this space stays here and we hit off our right foot, and what happens at impact? You stay on your right side, club hits like this or hits there and then comes up like that. We want that club to hit the ball first on that descending blow and then take the divot afterwards. It's something like this. Make sure that that divot that you see right here started right here and it ended about right there. I was descending into the ball, catching the ball first, and then the ground slightly afterwards, like this. That makes for consistency. You like my new Adams hat here? This GoPro here is going to show us what happens in the golf swing from my eyes. Now watch this. Well, what you're going to see here is that my head doesn't stay perfectly still. You know, most people's heads don't. Now, there are a couple people's heads that do. One is Fred Couples, another is Jack Nicklaus, although Jack, at the beginning of his swing, turns his head like that. So you have a completely different image looking down at the ball with this GoPro. So allow your head to move a little bit, but make sure that you keep your upper body tilt over the ball so your head doesn't bob up and down too much. You want that head to stay level as you hit through the ball. That's the key to a good, consistent golf swing. When I play in pro-ams or with amateurs and I see this, I know that that person has too much grip pressure. They're gripping onto the golf club way too tightly. This chapter is about the proper grip pressure. First of all, let's talk about where the pressure points are in the grip. Pressure points in the grip in the left hand are these last three fingers of the left hand. They grip the golf club like this. In the right hand is the middle two fingers right here that hold onto the golf club in the right hand. It's not the forefinger and the thumb, but it's the middle two fingers of the right hand. In fact, I've seen lots of players, from John Daly to Fred Couples, even Ben Hogan used to practice with these two fingers off the golf club like this, just to make sure that these three fingers and those two fingers are the pressure points in the grip. Now, instead of being like this, I want to see more a waggle like this, a little bit slower and a little bit looser with the hands. When you grip the club, the last 3 fingers of the left hand are the tightest. The middle 2 fingers are on there a little bit less tight. These 2 fingers are not tight at all. My good old friend Stan Thirst said, keep the club in your fingers, meaning that the palm of the hand right here is not the place to put the club. It's in the fingers of the left hand there, in the fingers of the right hand there. That's how you grip the golf club. During the swing, you want to maintain that same amount of pressure in your last 3 fingers of the left hand and the middle 2 fingers of the right hand. You don't want to increase the pressure at all in the golf swing. It will increase naturally on the downswing with the centrifugal force, but it doesn't get really tight at any time in the golf swing, especially the right hand. You want that right hand, when it's in the hitting area like there, to be able to be flexible and just fire through there like that, compressing the ball and creating club head speed. The most relaxed grip pressure you can have without losing control of the club head during the swing is where you want to be with your grip pressure in your golf swing. You're on the practice tee. You're starting to warm up. You start with a wedge and then a 7-iron, then maybe a 3 hybrid, then a 3 wood and a driver, kind of like I do. But do you practice with a purpose? Now, by that I mean, do you practice the shots in that round of golf that you're just about to play that give you the most trouble? The ones that you basically fear a little bit. Let me take an example here. When I play the Masters at Augusta National, there are several shots that really are critical shots in the round for me. One is the 12th hole, that wonderful par 3 over the creek that requires absolute precise distance control. I get on the practice tee, take my 7-iron out, and I'll take a shot at visualizing exactly what I want to do on that shot right there, and that is just a slight draw. Just like that. That gives me confidence when I go and I stand up to the 12th tee that I've hit at least one good 7-iron on the practice range. The next thing that I have to deal with, the golf course is very long, and I know I'm going to have to hit a number of hybrids. So I'll take my hybrid, I really practice hard with my hybrids to make sure that I have them under control, that I can hit them higher than maybe a little bit normal. That's what I practice, trying to hit them a little bit higher. And so this is a 3 hybrid right here, and I practice that until I hit a good one, or several good ones, I hope. Yeah, I like that. So in my mind, I've hit a good one already today. I know I'm going to have to hit a few of those when I play the golf course. Now finally, even before I get to Augusta, what I will do, I will practice my draw with my driver. A lot of the holes go a dog leg right to left. And to hit a good hard draw is very advantageous to getting a shorter iron into the greens. So, well before the tournament, I'll start practicing my draw. And if that's not enough, I'll practice hitting a little bit more of a draw. So when you get on the driving range and you're practicing for that round of golf, it could be just a friendly, it could be a club championship, a tournament, whatever. If you know the golf course and you know what holes give you the trouble, practice those particular shots until you get it right on the practice range. That'll give you the confidence when you get on the golf course that, yeah, I've done this well today.
On the tee, Tom Watson.
Well, here we are at the first tee. I can tell you that everybody gets nervous in the first tee. And there are a few things you can do about it to relieve that nervousness. The first thing you can do is, before you get to the first tee, do something that I've seen a lot of players do, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Why don't you practice the last shot on the practice tee with the driver that you're going to hit on the first tee. Start with your putting, then your short clubs, and then practice with your driver. That gives you an immediate feel from the practice range right to the first tee. Now, there are a couple other things when you're about ready to hit the ball you can think about. One is what we described before, is take a deep breath and then let it out and hold it. That helps relieve some of that pressure. It flushes out some of that nervousness. The second thing is actually something to think about when you're making the swing. And that is, my good friend Jack Nicklaus said, he tries to make sure that he completes his backswing and he starts down at the same speed as he ends his backswing with right there. So he doesn't rush the downswing. And don't rush down. That'll help get rid of the first tee jitters. In this chapter, we're going to deal with pressure. Now, everybody has different forms of pressure. I've been on the 18th hole at Augusta with facing a 6-iron to win the Masters. Other people win maybe a club championship. I had the chance to ask the wee Iceman, as they called him in Scotland, a question, and the answer of which I always remember. And that question was, Mr. Hogan, how nervous did you get when you were playing in a golf tournament? And his answer was, Tom, I got so nervous I was jumping out of my skin. And to me, that confirmed that we all get nervous, no matter if it's the great Ben Hogan or you playing for a $1 Nassau. Pressure is the fear, the anxiety of being in competition and failing. One of the things I found myself doing early in my career when I was choking and not competing well at the end of a golf tournament was that I was walking too fast. And I was also rushing my decision making and also was rushing my golf swing. What helped me the most was a tip that Byron Nelson gave me, and also Lanny Watkins. Said, Tom, when you're under pressure, walk just a beat slower. And that ties in with a tip that a man sent me by letter one time. He said, if you swing with the thinking of the term Edelweiss in your mind, Edelweiss like this, Edelweiss like that, you will get your rhythm back. And that rhythm translates to another visual that I have when I'm under pressure, and it's the great Sam Snead, who used to be here as the Pro Emeritus at the Greenbrier Resort. Sam had the most beautiful rhythm of anybody I ever saw. And I always pictured his rhythm when I was under the heat and I was losing my rhythm. I pictured Sam's rhythm. The little cock of the head this way, and just the smoothness and the power that he accelerated. And I had that visual in my mind because I had watched that rhythm. I watched that swing a lot. When you're under pressure, I think the number one reason you fail is that you hold onto the club too tightly. I see veins sticking out of their arms with the white, and we call it the white knuckles, where your knuckles are just absolutely white with pressure like this. When you have that much pressure in the golf club, you lose your rhythm. You also lose your hand speed, and it makes you go faster with your swing when you have heavy grip pressure on the golf club. I think a very clear success story about thinking about your grip pressure under pressure came when I was playing at Turnberry back in the 90s, and Greg Norman was leading the tournament. And we're having dinner, Jack Nicklaus and I and our wives. Greg came to the table. Jack had a very short conversation with Greg. Greg thanked Jack and left. And I said, Jack, what'd you say to him? And he said, just maintain a constant grip pressure tomorrow, meaning Sunday. Greg went out and won the golf tournament with a very fine last round. Now, the last thing is, how about preparing ahead of time, which also can reduce the effects of pressure. Now, I go back to 2009 at Turnberry when I had a good chance of winning the tournament. Prior to the tournament play, I knew the wind was going to change directions from where it was in all 3 practice rounds from the south to the northwest on Friday. It was going to change and be in the northwest on Friday. I also knew that I was probably the only player in the field, or maybe a handful of players in the field, who had ever played with a northwest wind at Turnberry. So it gave me somewhat of an advantage to know how that course played under those conditions. That in itself helped reduce the pressure of a changing golf course, because the golf course really hadn't changed for me. I knew how to play the golf course. For the other players, it added an element of pressure on them. It gave me a sense that I had an advantage over the entire field in that tournament, and maybe that was one of the reasons I did so well. One of the most feared shots that most amateurs have in the game of golf is this shot right here. It's a 40-yard wedge shot. What happens with most of the amateurs is they get in this position right here, and because they don't make a full swing, they never get enough weight on their left foot to make a ball divot type of progression through the ball. Hit the ball and divot like this. They start in what I call the tripod position. Their legs are straight up like this, forming a triangle. The center of gravity is right in the middle of the stance where their ball is, and they think that's where it should be. Well, it's not. What I suggest you do is this, a very simple move. Take your hips, start with the tripod position, but then slide your hips, keeping your upper body in the same place. See where my upper body, I didn't slide my hips and go this way. I slid my hips like this, so that the legs are slightly bent toward the target. What's that do? It keeps my right knee in, but puts more weight on my left foot. Now that's where I want to be at impact. When you make a short swing, you don't have enough time to go from the tripod position to go to impact over it like this. You can lunge at it, you do all sorts of different things. So start with the hips slid forward like this, in this position right like this. Now watch. I didn't have to make a big move back or forwards like that. I just made a swing, and I was already on my left foot at the impact, so I could hit the ball first, and you see my divot right here after the ball. That's the key for a 40-yard wedge shot. In this tip, I'm going to show you an easy way to control the trajectory of your ball, and it has to do with the left-hand grip. I have a gap wedge right here, a 52-degree gap wedge, and a very straightforward chip. Some people would probably try to putt this, which is okay, but I'm going to chip this 2 different ways with 2 different left-hand positions on the club. The first position is going to be what I call a weak position, where the left hand, instead of being in this position right here, I'm going to take the left hand and move it to the left and put the left thumb down the middle, put the right hand over a little bit. This is going to create extra loft at impact, making the ball go higher. The other thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put the ball a little bit farther forward in my stance. This is all an effort to get the ball up in the air. Put the ball a little bit farther forward, weaken your left hand grip. Make sure that, again, you still have that little hip slide right here. And this is what happens. Left hand right down the top. Ball goes up in the air. Now, what happens if you wanted to hit the ball with the ball rolling more? And especially, this is a good shot for into the wind. I use this a lot at the British Open when I play running chip shots or any type of chip shot into a strong wind. What I do, instead of weakening the left-hand grip on here, what I'll do, I'll strengthen it even more. I'll look down here and I'll see maybe almost 3 knuckles like this. Take my right hand on here like this, and then instead of playing the ball slightly forward in my stance, I will play it a little bit farther back in my stance. Again, making sure that I have a little slide here with my hips, right, like this. This takes the loft off the golf club But watch it roll now. The trajectory is much lower and the ball rolls. That's a great running shot for, especially into the wind, that anytime you want the ball to get on the green and run. Here's a way to deal with some fairway that's between you and the green that sometimes is really kind of sketchy. Maybe long, maybe zoysia, maybe the grain's into you, you cannot putt through it. I remind myself of Ray Floyd. He's one of the greatest chippers there ever was. He would prefer to be chipping off a fringe from this far off the green many times than putting. And he would do, I watched him very closely, he would get a 5-iron and he would get in the position where he'd be in the putting position like this with his hands up high, and he would get a slight lean of the shaft where the shaft is looking backwards just a little bit, weight on his left foot, and he would take his putting stroke with the 5-iron. Look, my arms are bent, they're not straight, and he would take it and go gets the ball on the green, gets the ball rolling like a putt. Very simple, takes a lot of the risk out of this shot. Now here's a situation when the ball is just off the green in the rough. You may not want to chip this ball. You may want to even think about, well, I can putt this ball through there, and you do this, you get it up here and you go like that, and it just doesn't get there because it hangs up in the grass like that. The problem with the putter is that it's too straight a face. It drives the ball into the grass, the ball hangs up in the grass. What you want to do is get a more lofted club, but it doesn't have to be a very lofted club. It can be a hybrid like this. This hybrid has about 21 degrees loft. It has this wide sole like this. And the whole idea is to have that amount of loft so it lifts the ball just slightly above the top of the grass so it doesn't drive it into it, and it just gets it out. And you actually do this. You hit it like a putt. You hit it just like a putt here. You just hit it with the shaft slightly ahead like this, a putting grip, a little bit of a stroke, and voila. It's that easy. There are several fundamentals that I think are common with all good putters. First thing you look at in a good putter is where do they position the ball, what kind of stance do they have. In most putters, you'll see the stance being just about this far apart like this. You don't see too many wide stances or too many really narrow stances, but about this far apart. The ball position should be, I think, a little bit forward of center, just slightly forward of center like this. When you hit the putt, it allows the loft of the putter to end up hitting the ball square. The ball starts rolling immediately rather than jumping in the air or being beaten in the ground. One of the keys in good putting that I've tried to do all my career is keeping the left elbow, the angle of this left elbow at address in the same position, but both on the backswing and the follow through like this. Backswing, follow through. In doing that, it connects my arms and shoulders in one unit, making it look, it's a rocking motion, there to there, there to there, there to there. Now, in taking the putter back, I start the putter back feeling the pressure in the back of the left hand. When I take the putter back, I keep the back of the left hand in control of the club face, there to there. So let me review this entire stroke. First thing is the setup. Feet about this far apart, ball forward in the middle of the stance. When you take the club back, you take it club back with your left hand, keeping the angle of the left elbow consistent. Go back with good rhythm and follow through, keeping your head still. And there you have it. Here's a drill that's great for your speed control. Put a series of tees around the hole about maybe a putter length. The whole object of this is very simple. If you can putt it from right here inside that circle, you're going to have a very makeable next putt. That's the whole idea here. This is speed. This is all about speed and line, but mainly it's speed. That's the way to do it. Now for a putt this distance, you have to stroke it very hard. Make a long stroke and stroke it hard with a lot of acceleration. One of the things I'll allow myself to do on a putt of this distance, I'll allow my lower body to actually move through to help me accelerate through like this, like I do a little chip shot. I won't keep my lower body still. I'll go ahead and let my lower body work on a putt this long. You practice this a lot and you're not going to three putt very much, if at all. Good luck to you. This is the way I aim a putt. I've determined, first of all, that this putt breaks about 5 feet. There's a big break in this putt. The first ball right in front of this ball right here is the Dave Stockton or Arnold Palmer method. Both of them advise me just to pick a spot on the maximum amount of break that you determine is going to happen in the putt. Pick that spot right in front of the ball and roll that over it. This one is actually the maximum amount of break that will be in the putt. Right there, it's a little bit closer, or 2/3 of the way into the putt like that. There's another way of aiming for the big breaking putt. The method that I use is actually the far one over here, which is 90 degrees from the hole. That is also on the line of the maximum break of this putt. So this is what I do. Obviously, I can't use this ball in front of it to make this putt, but I'm going to get up here and I'm going to aim at that far ball right there and make a stroke. Just a little harder and that ball's in. But that's how I aim for a big breaking putt like that. 90 degrees from the hole. But you can do it any of the three ways and it's perfectly okay. Good luck. Here's another tip that might help you make more breaking putts. When I look at this breaking putt right here, I have determined that it's got somewhere in this neighborhood of break. That much break for this short a putt. Now, I'm going to place a ball right down there in the center of the hole right there as you're looking at it. And you're going to say to me, you know, that ball right there is in the way. You can't make this putt. But in reality, when I look at the way this ball is going to be breaking into this hole, the center of the hole right here is going to be at about 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, maybe even 9 o'clock if the speed's just right. It might lip in. So that's the way I look at this putt. I'm not looking at that center of the hole there. I'm looking at the left side of that cup. And this is how I'm to try to putt it in. And that's how you look at this hole. You look at an 8 o'clock entry right here. You do that, you're going to make more breaking putts. Here's a little trick I use on breaking putts. If you have trouble always missing it on the low side, the amateur side, this is what I do. If I get it into this putt and I continually do this, missing it on the low side. Now this is what I do to correct it. It's just a little bit of a tweak with your grip. Take your left hand and turn it over like you're strengthening the grip. So you're going to see 1, maybe 2 knuckles with it. And what that'll do, that'll keep that club face from opening up at all. In fact, it may shut it down and make it so that you can take this putt and keep it on line. Now, the reverse is true on a right to left putt. If I'm consistently missing this putt to the left, like that, I will take my left hand and go the opposite direction. I'll weaken it, turn it over to the left a little bit, and when I go through, this keeps the putter face from turning over to the left at all. In fact, it may even open it up a little bit, making sure that you keep the ball from missing on the low side. Now, if you continue to have problems missing the ball on the low side of the hole, all you have to do is tweak your grip. Strengthen it for a left or right putt and weaken it for a right to left putt. You do that, you're going to make more of these putts. When we're reading a putt and we're unsure of it, there is one thing I like to do. I'm always going to read it from both sides, but the key here is when I take a look at the line here, I have a general idea where the line is. I'll walk down the line very close to it like this and try to feel with my feet what's happening here. Right here, it starts to peel off to the left a little bit like that. I look at it from back here, and on the return trip, I'll go the other side. Work this way on the other side, coming back, getting a good feel with my feet of the break. That gives me just a little bit more understanding and more confidence that I know the break in this putt. You do that and it may help you read a putt better. Well, we've seen what our eyes see when we make a driver shot, when we make a full swing like that. Let's see what happens when we make a putt. Let's see how I can keep my head still and also not look up until after the ball leaves. That's the way to do it. Hit it. Well, what I see here, I like. The two fundamental points here is that my head did not move during the stroke and it didn't look up until after the ball left the putter head. This is new to me. I hadn't seen this before, and I'm going to use this in future practice for my putting because I think it will help. In this chapter, let's talk about putting drills. Tips and drills that'll make it easier for you to make more putts. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is breathing. Target shooters use breathing techniques to increase their accuracy. You can do the same thing with your putting. This is what I do. I go in, I take my 2 practice strokes, 1, 2, and as I go into the ball, I take a deep breath and let it out and hold it about halfway out. I think this, especially under pressure, helps me consistently putt the ball better. The next drill is another pretty simple drill. If you're having trouble with your head moving or maybe breaking down at impact, do this. Get up, look down at the putter and aim it. Look up again, and then keep looking at the hole and make your stroke. I think this really helps you to smooth out your stroke. You don't worry about impact, you're just looking at the hole and you're swinging through out at the hole. The next drill is a pretty simple one too, and that is simply close your eyes. Make a stroke hitting the ball with your eyes closed. You aim the putter and the ball at the hole first. Take a couple of looks, close your eyes. The value of closing your eyes is you're using your feel rather than your eyes. Just your touch and your feel in your hands, your shoulders to swing the putter. Many times that'll get rid of the jerks. It'll get rid of the change of direction problems that we have sometimes when we get nervous. Just close your eyes and make a stroke through there. It's amazing how well you can putt this way. Now the next drill is the 2-tee drill. Now to set this up, you need your putter. Put your putter down like this. Put a tee on the toe of the putter, or right equal the toe of the putter there, and another tee at the heel of the putter. The key here is to practice hitting through those tees like this without hitting them. If you hit those tees like this, you know that your stroke is not going through on the line that you're trying to hit it. It's a very simple way of getting your path, your down path or your follow-through path on the line that you're trying to get it. Take a couple of practice strokes with it. Put the ball down there like this. The value of this drill is very simple. You create a more consistent path, straight back and straight through the line that you're trying to hit it on. Now the next drill is a drill that my wonderful caddy Bruce Edwards, who's no longer with us, told me to do when I was having trouble with my short putting. He said, when I get up to a short putt, go ahead and look at the hole just like I did twice, like this, but then when I made the stroke, look at my hands. Instead of the ball, just look at my hands. And that made my stroke go straighter back and straighter through. A very simple thing, something different with your eyes, but it worked for me. And there you have a whole list of drills that can help you with your putting. I wish you well with it, and may you make a lot more putts. Many people ask me, how did I get started in the game? As a youngster, I was 6 years old and I had a father who was a very good player. And I think the most important thing was that he made it fun. But the way he made it fun was he gave me the right fundamentals to start with and the right size clubs to start with to make it fun. First thing he did was teach me the grip. He taught me how to put the hands on the golf club. He made it so that the V's of the right hand and the left hand pointed to the right shoulder. That's all he told me. It doesn't matter if the kids put it on full finger grips or whatever. He taught me the Varden grip like that, just as a kid. But the key is put the left hand on there correctly at the first. Then all he did then was just said, all right, try to keep your head still and finish with your belly button to the hole like this. Those are the 3 lessons my dad gave me. He also gave me a cut down hickory shafted 5-iron. And of course it was really heavy. Now what I suggest, and they're not too expensive, is to go and get 4 clubs for your kids. Get a 5-wood like this, get a putter, obviously, get a 7-iron, and some sort of wedge. This is a sand wedge, pitching wedge is fine. 4 clubs is all they need. And that's all they need to get the ball in the air and you have some success. I get back to the main point though. Have fun playing the game. Make sure that the kids have some sort of game to play, some sort of target to shoot for. And that target doesn't have to be very far. Get them on the putting green. Get them to start making putts this long. And then kind of start to spread it out and really praise them when they make a long putt. These are the ways to make it interesting for our kids to make the game fun. Here's a story that I like to tell that I've heard about Tiger Woods. Tiger, playing in the National Amateur at Newport Country Club a long time ago, was having difficulties with his putting. His dad was off to the side of the green and he called his dad over and said, "Dad, I'm having a heck of a time making putts. I can't make any putts." His dad looked at him. He said, "Son, practiced 1-foot putts and walked off the green. So what's the deal? What's this mean? Practice 1-foot putts. The beautiful thing about this and the logical thing about this is that you make putts. And that gives you the confidence that when you go farther back and farther back, then you can do the same thing and make those putts. So start short. Sometimes when you're having trouble putting, you'll get to be a better putter. When I'm asked about senior golf, there are a few things I talk about before I even talk about the swing. The first thing is your equipment. This is your friend. A hybrid is your friend. All the way from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hybrid. Get something which has a big sole to it like this, so that if you hit a little bit behind it, it's going to carry it into the ball and you're going to get the elevation you need. The problem with senior golf, we don't get the ball elevated enough, and obviously we don't hit it very far, but elevation is the most important thing. The second thing is the golf ball. Don't play a pro ball, don't do that. Play with as hard a golf ball as you possibly can. You can't compress it anyway, so make sure that that hard ball will just jump off that club face and go farther distance. I talk to seniors about their grip and their setup. Mainly, the grip has to be light. It has to be light because you want to get your hands active in the golf swing. You can't turn your body very much, but you have to keep your hands as active as possible to hit the ball. You're going to, 80% of your speed comes from your arms and hands. And in senior golf, it's about 100% because your body really doesn't help you too much. You can't get your body to do that. So the thing I like to do, light grip pressure, and in your stance, narrow your stance up and pull the right foot back a little bit like this. That helps you get a little bit of turn, a little bit more turn with your restrictive turn as it is, away from the ball like this. And so you can get just a little bit behind it with your left shoulder. Just, you can't get way behind it with your left shoulder, but you can get it, the key is to get it as far back as you possibly can. With light grip pressure, then you just come in there and hit it. And this is kind of what it looks like. It kind of goes. And like that. You're not using your body too much, but you're using your hands. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's the main thing. The older I get, the longer the golf courses get. And moving up in the forward tee sometimes is fun for me. I don't need to play those back tees anymore and force myself to hit 3-woods into par 4s or not reach the par 4s. The beautiful thing about the game of golf, you can play it until the day you die. So don't take it so seriously. Enjoy it and have fun. I hope you enjoyed this program, and more importantly, I hope it's helped your game. For the complete DVD of Lessons of a Lifetime, you can find it on my website, tomwatson.com. And finally, I'd like to thank my dear friends at the Greenbrier for allowing us to film this program at their magnificent facility. To all of you, goodbye and best of luck.